me if I don't talk to you specifically if you're on one side or the other. I'm not used to this much neck mobility during con. Thanks, you guys. How's Metrocon for everyone? Sweet. This is my first time here. I'm really enjoying myself. I love the positivity with everybody here, and I love seeing all that. There's a lot of really cool cosplays and lots of cool Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts cosplays over there. Masters and Lucio. It's so cool. So this is my Q&A panel is the title of it. So I am happy to do questions and answers for you guys. But I always like to start out just talking about my favorite subject myself, which is, I could go on for a couple hours, but I guess we only have 50 minutes. I am a voice actor from New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey, grew up in Las Vegas. Finally made my way to Los Angeles. You're from Vegas?
No, I'm from New Jersey.
From New Jersey? Represent. And I was out there, went to school at USC for acting, slummed around as a theater usher, SAT tutor, bartender for about 5 years or so, and I tried to transition from that into voice acting. And I've been doing that for about 5 years, and about 3 years with actually able to make a living doing it. I did, for 2 of those years, I did 150 audiobooks alone, and it was miserable because you don't choose the books that you get to narrate. You just are sent random books. A lot of people say if you want to get into audiobook narration, the way to test is go into a bookstore, pick a book at random, and read it all the way through out loud to yourself. And that's what I did 150 times. Some of them were good. Some of them were really good, but most of them were not fun. Yeah, anyone's water? Yes. So I did that for a while, and then I met my good friend / enemy Max Middleman. He's the worst. He and I went to school together, but we did not meet in school. We met at a party where we didn't know anybody, and we were like, we're 2 young guys who don't know anybody at this voiceover agency. Let's hang out. And so we did, and we were both. One of the main things he said was like, dude, you gotta stop doing audiobooks. Max Middleman. Yeah, when he's in the booth, he always does this when he's doing a young character to sound young. So, dude, you gotta stop doing audiobooks. You gotta go out there and meet people and like do video games and animation and stuff. And so we both together, he took 70 workshops, which it's an insane, because each of those is like $150. He saved up for these. He basically went to college again doing casting director workshops, and I followed suit. I did about 40 of those guys during a year, meeting people and auditioning a lot, and just getting into the right places, the actual places that cast things that you want to be on. And that is still going on to this day. For me especially, it's a long road. About a year into that, I booked a character named Noctis in Final Fantasy XV. I worked on that for 2 years without being able to talk about it, and during that time I worked on a lot of anime and other video games at the time that have a lot of them seemed to come out at the same time. There's this 6-month period where it was like, wow, Ray, you're in everything, and I was like, I wasn't in everything at the same time. It was all a very, very long process in between. But life is great. This is my 1-year anniversary of doing cons. My first year was Otakon last year. And I thought I was going to be able to talk about being Noctis at that con, and it was not for another 2 more months that I was able to talk about it. But now Robbie's Spider-Man, so we can finally talk about that. We can talk about why he's late to every single con, because he always records Friday mornings. So it's good to be NDA free for the time being, which is nice. So that's my journey to where it is. A whole lot of catastrophes and missteps along the way. But if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Let's do in front.
Yes. Speaking of Noctis from Final Fantasy 15, were there any kind of moments where you were just overwhelmed by the sheer emotion within the story itself?
Yeah, so...
And which one really stuck out to you?
Okay, so we have all right, let's do a show of hands. Who wants this to be a spoiler panel and who doesn't? So, all right, so if you want this to be a spoiler panel, raise your hand. Okay, if you don't want this to be a spoiler panel, raise your hand. Okay, if there's one. Really? You haven't finished? Where are you?
I'm at the part where you're fighting the rock type.
Okay, it's chapter 5 around there. So I will not spoil the game, because there's no reason to. I will talk in broad terms. I'll talk in broad terms. So the question was, were there times when I was overwhelmed with the emotion? So after we had done the demo, and after I had, I can talk about this. So I did the demo, episode Dusk Sky. We had done it in a voice that we had done both in a younger, the Noctis, you know, and this guy, who ended up kind of being older Noctis. And that was what the Platinum demo, or the episode Dusk Sky demo ended up being. And I got word when it came out that they were thinking of recasting. They were looking for a different voice. And fortunately, during this month, the casting director and the production company, Rocket Sound, stood up for me and said, "Ray can do a different voice. It's not like he can't sound younger. We have files of him sounding younger." So it was this month-long recasting process that I went through in order to keep that role. So that was a terrifying time. It was not fun. After that, right after that time, that was March, we had then started doing. We had a couple of sessions where I redid all of the episode Dusk Sky dialogue, because a lot of it ended up in the game. Like, it's bedtime. All those ones made it in. During those sessions when we were cleaning up the voice, they sat me down and told me the whole story of Noctis' journey. And it took a while. I was like 20 minutes of learning everything. And I was just amazed with the sheer guts that it takes to tell a story like that. I haven't seen a story like that in a long time, and it was something that I was really excited to play as an actor. You're always looking for the deep, dark, the kind of human emotions that are at the fringes of your normal day-to-day life. So that was one of the first times that it impacted me a lot. And then during of course, the campfire scene I was in tears doing that. That was we had the luxury of doing the game in order. We recorded from start to finish. We did it in order, which never happens, ever, especially in video games. Amazingly, we had that luxury for this one. Except for of course, recipe and fishing and all those sort of lines were always thrown in good measure during recording. But yeah, one of our last sessions was that campfire scene of saying goodbye, and I was also saying goodbye to the character, because that was of course I come in every once in a while to do DLC sort of stuff, but that was saying goodbye to this time in my life when I was going in regularly and playing this deep character. So that was a very emotional session for me, for sure.
It was probably very emotional for all of us, really, that time.
Yeah. I'm glad it came out well. No more questions. That's my time, guys. Thank you. We'll give it to down here.
What was your favorite? What was your favorite line in Final Fantasy 15? There's different lines for different reasons. Of course, beans. That's one of my favorites. For that one, we had to do every line to the Japanese timing. We didn't listen to Japanese for every single line, but we had to do it to the millisecond, how long they said it. And for that one, it was like 3 seconds. And we tried it a bunch of times where it was like, oh no, beans, but it always sounded weird. And so we were like, what if we just say the word beans, but make it really long? And I'm really glad they went with that. That was a really fun one. My favorite serious line that I love doing is, off my chair, Jester, the king sits here. So good, it's so good. We'll do in the middle, spoiler guy.
Anyway, what were your favorite parts when you, what was the best thing when you voice like these 5 characters from the anime movies? Like you voiced Hauser from Seven Deadly Sins, the Master of Masters from Kingdom Hearts X, the movie, the Puri prisoner from One Punch Man, Tenga from Mob Psycho, and E from Nier Automata.
That's right. You want me to answer all of those?
I don't want to sound like I'm being greedy. I just want.
Here's a cool story about Hauser. I had done anime a long time. I'd done Magi. That was my first anime where I had a role. I played a Sharkon. And I hadn't, then after that set, it was like 2 sessions, and then a year went by and I was never really sent anything or booked anything. And then Matt Mercer was offered the role of Hauser in that show, but he couldn't do it due to time constraints. And he said, why don't you let Ray do it? And it was so nice of him to do that because I had not been thought of as an anime actor at Bang Zoom at that time. And that enabled me to actually play a character that doesn't die super fast. That's great. As Hauser? Yeah, Seven Deadly Sins, we did not know how popular that was going to be. It was insane. That was a crazy experience. Recording that, going, what is this show? We don't understand it. And then finding that people love that, especially at cons. Yeah, thanks. Over here, let's go all the way over there. Favorite thing about doing voice acting, when I was growing up, there were lots of actors who I looked up to, and one of them was Peter Sellers, because he could play any character and was allowed to play multiple characters in a movie and be able to be anyone he wanted, not necessarily look like the person. When you're an on-camera actor, you pretty much have to look like the person unless you have a lot of makeup or you're Gary Oldman or something. For being a voice actor, you can play so many different characters that you'd never be cast as in the live-action version, and you never know who you're going to get next. You're always constantly making up new characters that are original, and I love that part of it, that the fact that it's always something new. Thank you. Let's go in the center of that chocobo egg.
So the last comment about Hauser, is that actually a spoiler that he does die later on?
I don't know. I have not read the manga. I would imagine nobody really dies in Seven Deadly Sins. It's one of those shonen kind of things where it's like, you know, everybody comes back. I think it's okay.
It's not ridiculous like with Bleach and Naruto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's everyone's gonna come back. Once you introduce magic, they're always gonna magic themselves back to life. That's it. Yeah. He's around for a while? All right, not bad. Here, over there. Yeah.
Who is one of your favorite actors that you've worked with, and who is someone that you would like to work with in the future?
So, who I would like to work with is anyone, because I've never worked with anyone, unfortunately. I do video games. I just met Steve Bloom in the green room, someone I've always respected, and he asked, why haven't we worked together? Even though we're on 15 together and do rah 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 and stuff like that. I love that show. It's so good. I do a lot of video games. That's mostly what I do, and it's always in isolation. We did one session for Final Fantasy at the very beginning, we experimented with doing 2 people in the booth at the same time, and it just didn't work because we had to match the Japanese timing for every single line. So I did it with the first scene when Noctis and friends go off outside the royal steps and Regis is bidding them goodbye. That I did with Jim, and it was just so hard to keep in mind, we're doing the scene and we're keeping it to the millisecond in the timing and do it all the way down. It just didn't work. So that was my one session with another person, and since then it's never happened again. So one day I'd like to be able to do more animation and stuff like that where you actually have another person in there with you. Thank you. Right here, curly hair.
What's a game series you'd want to work on?
Man, a lot. I would love to work with a Naughty Dog franchise. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
They really put a lot of effort into the acting, and you really get those facial cues and the verbal tics, and it sounds super space natural. I love those games, and I love the way that they treat the acting in them. So I'd love to work with Naughty Dog on something. Let's go all the way here. Lightning number one.
Speaking of Naughty Dog.
Unless you're Sarah. Is one of them Sarah?
Sarah.
You're Sarah. Oh, person. Perfect.
Speaking of Naughty Dog, The Last of Us 2 is coming out. It'd be cool to hear your voice. And my question.
Thank you.
My question is, have you seen the glitches in Final Fantasy?
Oh,
Which glitch is my favorite? I mean, some of the cool ones, the early ones, I don't see too much anymore. Where you go to Golden Key, and the water was purple. I love those. Those are so cool. But the funniest ones are the ones where it's the four bros on their chocobos all stacked up. So funny. And I would look for that one because it is weird when you play the game and you call the chocobos and the camera always moves in front of you, so you can't see what happens. So no matter where you look behind you, they always run up in time. And I always was like, where the heck? I want to break that. I'm glad that someone else did and find out that they're just all on top of each other. It's so funny. That one's great. Good question. Up here front.
If you could voice any character from any franchise, what would it be and why?
I don't want to. Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer with things that are already voiced because they're your friends and you're always like, okay, cool. I do want to be a part of JoJo. I just got into it and it's so good. I was able to play a small part in the first season and this season. I'm Rubber Soul, but the new season, I hope when they audition I get one of those parts. That'd be really, really fun. I love the art style, the music. It's just great. It's perfect. In the back, Elf.
If Final Fantasy VI were to ever be remade, would you want to reprise your role as Edgar?
That's right. I played Edgar in World of Final Fantasy. That was so cool. Being able to play a character that old that's never had a voice before. And of course, I would love to. That's so cool. He's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
6 is like one of my favorite games of all time. I would love to hear your voices again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think things are going this way with the way that Nintendo remade Valentia for Fire Emblem. And Square's remaking 7. I don't know. There might be maybe in the next 10 years or so. That'd be really cool.
20 maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's do Noctis in the front here with Carbuncle.
What's the most interesting way you get into a character that you have to voice? Like, is there like not really original, something you do beforehand?
The most important thing is information and see what, okay, yeah. I was about to say something and I can't talk about that one, unfortunately. The most important thing I try to do is to watch if it's an anime, you have all the information because you can watch the anime. So I always try to watch the anime first if I'm casting something. Information gathering is the most important thing, especially with video games because they don't tell you anything. Find out as much as you can. So when I guess coming up with a voice, here's a weird situation that I found myself in with. I worked on Nier as Eve.
Yes!
And while I was working on that, I was also Noctis in Final Fantasy, also Square, and Edgar in Final Fantasy, and Master of Masters in Kingdom Hearts. And they all had close voices, and now here I was in another Square game coming out that year, and they wanted me to sound like Noctis. They didn't know that I was Noctis, different localization company. And I was trying really hard to make him I couldn't give them what they wanted because it would have just been too close and people would have been like, what the hell, this is the same voice. It's a similar voice, but different speaking patterns and different pitches, and luckily he yells a lot and Noctis doesn't yell that much, so it was okay. But that was a hard thing to not drop my NDA and put the character in a new place that wasn't exactly what they wanted, but still be able to get through the session. That was a tough one, for sure. Yeah. Let's do the green bracelets.
I have 2 questions actually.
Mm-hmm.
One, where do you Fire Emblem?
Was I in Fire Emblem? I play 4 characters in Fire Emblem.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And the second question is, who is your Fire Emblem waifu?
So I play Fernand in Echoes. I play Gaius in Heroes, Alphonse in Fire Emblem Heroes, and Roy in Fire Emblem Heroes. And growing up, I always played Roy in Melee. That was my go-to character, him and Dr. Mario. And he was my favorite. And to be able to play him was a dream come true. So he was my waifu in waiting. He was my boy, as they say. We'll do, oh cool, nice, Noctis. Oh, yo, that's right, you were gonna just, it's rare to see Royal Raymond Noctis, that's really well done. Yeah!
I'd like to really?
Sure.
With working like an international company like Square Enix, do they like fly you out like and how does it work?
It's a good question. No, they do not fly you out or do anything like that. But at one point, Dan, the head writer on it, said, you know, if you're ever in Japan, stop by and I'll have you take a tour of Square. And I booked a flight that night and said, hey, I'm coming by in January. Just stop by and say hi. And I went there, emailed him saying, hey, I'm here. I was there for 5 days, and he did not answer until the 5th day, saying, sorry, swamped with work, but you can come in tomorrow. And so I extended the trip another day, went in the next day, and got to see Square, and it was amazing. Dream come true, but that was such a close call. That was really rough. And when I went there, I met everybody. They were all so nice. I got to sit. It's all one big room. It's a lot like this. It's just one long room with windows on either side and just desks all in between. And in the middle, there's a boardroom desk, style desk with chairs all around and a projector. And I got to see, that was January of that year, of last year? Yeah. And it was, I got to see Kingsglaive for the first time, which was unannounced at the time. I got to see, it hadn't been cast or anything, it was all temporary voices and stuff, but it was a lot of, here's what this cool new movie is going to be like, and that was so cool to be able to see something that I had no idea about. That was really, really cool.
Last question. Outside of conference, what's your other favorite conference?
I really like 8. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of 5 as well, and Tactics is of course the best. Yeah. Let's do Cindy.
Okay, I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan.
Awesome.
Which one's your favorite?
Which one is my favorite? I do not have a favorite Kingdom Hearts. I'm just started playing 1 with Max. We did it on our live stream. Yeah, that was really fun. We just started playing through 1, and I think we'll continue to live stream the rest of it because it might be another 10 years until 3 comes out. So I do not have a favorite Kingdom Hearts, but I guess I could say 2.8 because Master Masters is OP. He's the best. Are you Master Masters, or are you just Organization 13?
No.
Oh, that's very cool. That is awesome, you guys. Let's go right here.
How much on stage acting training do you have?
I mostly, entirely on stage acting training. I started in middle school doing plays, and I only started doing acting because I played trumpet, and I moved up in 7th grade to a different level of the band, and I got another elective. And I just chose trumpet again. And my mom said that was really dumb, and you should choose something else. And so I chose theater for no reason. And I really liked it. And I stuck with it since, and as you can tell, I'm not a famous trumpet player. So it didn't work out. So I started in 7th grade and continued all the way for high school. I knew I was gonna be an actor, and then for college, went to theater school for theater. And so I've done a ton of plays, a lot of Shakespeare. I studied in England as well for a semester. So theater is my original. It's great. I miss it for sure. Thank you. Let's go here in purple area.
What was the first role and play that you played in?
the first play in 6th grade. It was, were you there? Who was anyone there? Becker Middle School in Las Vegas. My father was there. That's my father, you guys. Stand up and embarrass him. Yay!
Got into theater in 7th grade.
In 7th grade?
I was in a play in 7th grade.
That's when the bug kicks in, for sure.
Now I'm in school for theater.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, never quit, for sure. I did, it's an Alan Ayckbourn play called This Is Where We Came In. I played Uncle Oblivious, who was an old man. And to me, like I said with the earlier question, to be able to play an old man at age 13 was just so cool. To be able to change your voice and your mannerisms and be on stage, and that was really fun. So that was my first. Yeah. Let's do our Master of Masters here.
Alright, there's two things.
Yeah.
Do you remember in your live stream when you guys were holding the Smash Bros training?
Yes.
I was the naked show.
You were the naked show? You did really well. But then you went up against the champion, right? Yeah. Oh, that's a bummer.
And, are you guys ever thinking about doing like another tournament, like involving like the community again? Or?
Definitely, yeah. We loved that. We loved having you guys be a part of it. It was really, really fun, right? Lava Squad up here. Here's your mods. Those are your mods. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. We know that we really want to get back into doing RPG stuff for sure, because that's what we do mostly. That'll be at least the next September and October, and play Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that. But being able to do competitive stuff was so much fun. And trying to figure out what to do with lag, because that was tough, playing with people all over the place. It was tough, yeah. So definitely.
What was the turning point in your life where you decided you wanted to be an actor?
That was 7th grade. That was it when I decided, I guess, right, Dad? Yeah. That was it was something that I knew I was good at, that I loved working on to get better, and and it wasn't really, there wasn't another option for me. That was it. So and that was, I remember going to high school and taking all theater classes. At that point, that was what I was doing with my life.
Well then, I mean, most children for their entire life say, I want to be someone famous, I want to be an actor. But then later in life decide, I'm going to be a scientist. Did you ever have that moment?
Well, yeah, when I was 3, I wanted to be a construction worker. But I didn't. Once I ended up in 7th grade theater, it changed. I guess it changes your perspective and money. Of course, if saying that you want to be an actor and then actually doing it and failing for years and trying to make a living, that's not for everyone, for sure. It's very hard to balance those two things, and to know whether you're actually belong there, because it's very hard to get feedback from people once you're in the professional world. Let's do yellow shirt in the back.
Yeah, you have any favorite actors or favorite movies that you looked up to or you studied when you first started acting?
Do I have any?
Yeah.
When I first started, I watched a lot of movies. I would watch the AFI Best Films list. I would watch all the classic movies, and that's how I got into Peter Sellers, because he's on so many of those, and he plays so many different characters in all those. So he was one who I really looked up to. And then in modern, when I was in college and stuff, I loved watching Peter Serafinowicz, who's amazing. He's a voice actor, but he also does a lot of on-camera stuff. He has a show in England. Really, really good guy. Huge Dark Souls fan, which is fun. He live streams Dark Souls, and he's someone who I also look up to as well. A real chameleon. I love that. Thanks. Let's go here. Yeah.
Okay, this is my question. Have you played the original Nier?
No, I have not played the original Nier. I've heard it's not fun, so I stay away. It's for the story. So to me, I don't know, I find it really hard to balance work and life and video games, all those three things. And so my video game time is budgeted. I finally finished Witcher 3, and that took like a year. So it's like, the backlog is high, and the original Nier, because the gameplay is what's hard and not fun about it. To me, that's like okay, maybe 10 years down the line sort of thing.
Well, you can go on YouTube and watch,
Or watch a Let's Play. Yeah, exactly. Or just watch the cutscenes, you're saying. Yeah.
You can do that too.
That's a good idea. I could do that. That's not a bad idea at all. Nice. Let's go with 9S.
To you, what is the most memorable Eve moment?
Do you want me to say one? I just tweeted it today because it comes up a lot, especially on Kyle's live stream. It's all, when we were doing it, I don't think we realized it could be taken out of context, but extra hard. I'll never live that one down. Luna, I think you had a question, yeah?
You could be Noctis for one day, what would you most want to do?
Noctis for a day. Oh man, there's so many sides to him. So you go fishing. I don't really like fishing myself. You know what I would do is go camping with the bros, because that's what the game is, and it would be really cool, and not just to hang out with Gladio Ignis and them, but to hang out with Robbie, Adam, and Chris, and go on a road trip and do that. That would be amazing. Really, really fun. Do a couple of battles, make a gorilla steak. That'd be really, really cool. That'd be fun. Good question. Let's go over here.
How did you and Robbie meet?
Robbie and I met when we had done Dusky. I didn't know anybody's name. They wouldn't really tell, and then sometimes I would say, who are these guys? And finally they said their names, and the only one I remembered when I went home was Robbie Damon. I was like, Robbie, and I know he's from Las Vegas too, so something like that. And I found him eventually, and then I messaged him on Facebook and said, hey, we should meet. We're working on this game, this is very cool. And he invited me to a sports bar where the Broncos were playing, and his girlfriend was a huge Broncos fan, and I had to meet 10 people and him in a sports bar where I do not do well. So it was a scary thing. Robbie later told me that he would not have gone if it was him. To go in to a stranger, essentially, and just meet in a bar, that was pretty scary. So it ended up being okay, and I did just fine. And I kept up the friendship, and then when Max and I ended up sharing so many credits, we were like, we gotta hang out together more. We gotta figure out what to do with that. And then Robbie came up with the idea for Lava in the first place, that we should do a live show at conventions, and then that's become a live stream sort of thing. It's a crazy thing. It's all Robbie. Yeah. Any more questions? Let's go glasses right here.
So for Master of Masters, I'm trying to think, how was the direction to that? How did it go? Because it's like you go all over the place with that character.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fun one. And I remember there's like even a line where I changed my voice because the Japanese actor changes his voice up a little bit. And that one like required, we had to stop recording. They had to go home and rewrite the line and make sure that it was correct. Like that one, because it's Disney and Square, two companies who were very, very careful with what they put out. Every line had to be perfect. And so we only did about 4 to 7 lines an hour. It was very slow, very painstaking, making sure that every part of it was perfect. And it was very hard for him because he moves around a lot, and the gestures don't always line up with the English. And so it was very challenging to make sure that he was acting correctly for the English version. So it was a very long process, and any questions I had were kind of vague and not answered very well. Because I always am asked what's in the box, all those things, and I have no idea, unfortunately. Let's go with Sora. Perfect.
What is your favorite Final Fantasy 15 meme?
Oh, man, favorite meme from Final Fantasy 15.
Oh God, oh no.
I mean there's so many, but it's gotta be the classic. It's gotta be, I've come up with a new recipe.
Yes.
Being able to say that in the DLC was one of the coolest things ever. Oh man, and that was, well, yeah, I can't talk about that, but that was a thing that we did in the English version and the Japanese didn't. And then we later, I don't think this is breaking anything, later we got other scripts and the Japanese had also done that. Because I I guess maybe realized how popular it was over here, and they were like, oh, it'd be really fun if we made fun of each other's voices. And so they ended up doing that for another thing that we ended up recording. Yeah, that's cool. Let's go with the Chocobo.
Okay. Have you ever been hired to voice a character with your own voice, or have you always had to change the tone or the whatever?
I've only done it once in my own voice, and that's Master of Masters. It's the only time that I've ever done a character in my normal speaking voice. And it helps because when I talk, I go up and down and all that sort of stuff, and so does he. So that translated over really, really well. But yeah, I've always been putting on a voice or changing something. Like I've said, with the actors that I look up to, I like it when you are unrecognizable in a role. So I always try to make my character sound as different as possible. Thanks. Let's go with Noctis over there.
I have to ask, Trace or Yen?
Tracer?
Trace or Yen?
Triss or Yen? Oh, I ended up with Triss, of course. Yeah, Yennefer's mean. I didn't like her. We go with the nice one, of course. Any other questions? We've got 15 minutes left. Oh, let's go over here.
To avoid spoilers, I'm just gonna ask, which photo did you choose?
So I thought about it a lot, and I went through emotionally all my photographs. What a great game mechanic that was. That was insane. Comes out of nowhere at you. I looked at a lot of them, and I chose the one that, the game automatically takes it for you when you're at Cape Cayam. It's the picture of the previous generation. It's of Cid and Regis and Cor and Wescombe. It's a picture of a picture, which is kind of strange, but that was the one that I ended up, because I love that parallel between the two. That was something they did in Final Fantasy VIII and V, two of my other favorites, where there's a parallel story between father and son, also going through a journey. So that one really resonated with me, so I chose that one at the end. Yeah. Any other questions? Let's go here. My favorite video game is Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, and it's not because I grew up in Vegas. I just love the choices in that one, the characterization and the gameplay. I don't have great aim, so the Fallout always is great for me because you're able to play it like an RPG, a true RPG, and play as a charismatic character. So I played that one several times, and I watched Let's Plays of that. Many a True Nerd is a YouTube channel who plays the game. He played the entire New Vegas and all the DLCs without healing once, and that was amazing. And it's not because he's a great player, it's just using strategy and planning beforehand. Really, really cool stuff. So I geek out about the Fallout series and especially New Vegas. That's my favorite for sure. Yeah, that one's a lot of fun. I'm playing with mods now, and it's just too much fun. Let's go over here.
Okay, this is another question. What was it like playing Artorias and Berseria?
That's right, I was Artorias in Tales of Berseria. And I met Christina V here for the first time, who's Velvet. She's really nice. And Artorias was basically me being Matt Mercer as much as possible. Doing one of these kind of voices. Velvet, why do birds fly? He was a cool character to voice. And I don't remember if I even auditioned. I must have auditioned for him, but I don't have any recollection of it. I might have just been called in for that character and coming up with a cool, evil voice, and I just immediately went to there. And he was cool because you see him twice. You play the game? Yes. He's Shepard Artorias, and then as Artorias, the bad guy. And being able to show the differences between him from start to finish was really cool. As Arthur, yeah, right. As a villager Artorias, that's the name, or at least what we had to call him. But he was a really, really cool character to play, and working with, that's Bandai Namco, right? Yeah, they're really fun to work with because they give you a lot of visuals to work on because they give you the cutscenes to be able to match stuff. So that was really cool. I could see the character in action. That was nice.
I was very surprised to find that out when I was at home.
That I was that guy too. Yeah, it was a crazy year last year that everything came out at the same time. It was nuts. Well, let's do Shepard.
So, which one of your characters would you say was the most fun to voice act?
I played a character in D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die, which was Swery 65. Yeah, I was Duncan, fashion designer on a plane, and he has a mannequin named Suki, and he talks to Suki the whole time, and his catchphrase is avant-garde. And you have to, one of the quests is you have to go back in the past and tell him his own catchphrase. And Ben Pronsky, who's now in a lot of stuff, that was one of his first roles, plays the protagonist in that game, and he had to record a lot of failed quest attempts to get me to say avant-garde, where he's going, avant-grade? And I go, no, avant-garde! He was a lot of fun, really, really fun guy. Let's go with Noctis here.
If you had a villain that you would most want to play,
Villain I would most want to play. I've played quite a few villains, actually. There's Artorias and Eve. Noctis is such a villain. A villain I'd want to play. I don't know. That's a really good, I don't know. I guess I've never thought of that. I don't have a cool answer for that one. A cool villain. What would you think of? Yeah, I don't know either. I guess the only villains that I know, because you don't know what's coming out, so you don't know those villains. But I guess you could go with like superhero and animation and stuff like that. And I don't know superheroes very well at all, so I can't say, unfortunately. Yeah, but thank you. I'll have to think about that. I'll get back to you. Scala, what's up?
Tell us a little bit about how much different it was being able to be like Etrigan and Jason Blood in Justice League Dark, because that must have been such a different process compared to doing anime and video games.
It wasn't too much different, because in anime, every time that if you're not the hero in something, you're always going to be playing a bunch of other characters in the thing. You play a ton of enemies and stuff. So normal day at work, you go in and you do the voice you're hired for, and then they say, and here's 2 more parts, come up with different voices. So for Etrigan and Jason Blood, I played in Justice League Dark. Jason Blood is here, he's an Englishman from the 15th century, and Etrigan's a demon. And so I was cast as both of those parts, which you do not have to be. It was very nice of Wes, the casting director, to put me in both. And we just did the script once as Jason, and then we did it again as Etrigan and filled in the blanks. So it wasn't too different at all. Yeah. It was interesting. And even though it was animation, I did not work with anyone. All alone in a huge room, unfortunately. Let's go with lightning number 3. No, lightning number 2. Sarah's on the left. Great.
So what was your favorite battle sequence in 15?
Favorite battle sequence? Man, there were cool ones. I'll tell you, I did not like Leviathan. That was not fun. I liked it because you're just... That was your favorite? To me, it wasn't... Oh, perfect. And then, well, yes, emotionally, that is cool. But gameplay-wise, that's not very fun, because you're just standing there and Gokuing and I was not on the edge of my seat. I guess because I knew it would happen, so I guess I was not for that reason too. So coming from your perspective, yes, Leviathan's pretty cool. I liked Ravis was a lot of fun, that battle in the end. Not a lot of people talk about that. But that was really cool, because that was very hard. That was really hard. That was very, very hard, and then escaping when time is running out. Man, that was nuts. So I really enjoyed that. I love his music too. So that's a huge part about boss fight sequences. Yeah. So that was really, really fun. Good question. I've called on everybody before, right? Okay, so cool. So I'll go from the left.
What is your favorite piece of music from
Oh, I have a lot. I have all of the soundtracks and all the piano collections and all the Distant Worlds. It's a big deal for me, is music. I will say my favorite, there's so many favorites. Here's weird ones that I really like. I love Royal Palace from Final Fantasy V. Really fun. Go back and listen to that one. It is so... It means, 5 means a lot to me, because it embodies what adventure is. It's just so fun and fresh and not concerned with being right or anything. It's just like, yeah, purple dragons and old men and little girls, and we're all gonna fight in a quaint style. I liked that, and Royal Palace embodies that from that. From 15, I really like the Cape Cod theme. That one I listened to a lot in the car. Really, really nice. That soundtrack is so varied, and Hellfire is so good. That one's so good. The not final boss Boss music, but basically Final Boss music. That one's really good. Good question. I'll go purple hair first.
Okay. How do you find out about auditions about things that are supposed to be kept secret? I mean, like, how did you find out about auditions that...
Yeah, your agent sends you, and they all say confidential, and they all have code names, but if you are a gamer, you know what they are. So, for example, for Mass Effect Andromeda, when those sides came out, I knew exactly what it was, even though it was not announced, but you're like, a game from BioWare, you can choose a male or female avatar, and here's how the different quest lines go. I'm like, okay, this is, and it's set in space, so you know what it is. So for a lot of them, you can figure out what the thing is if it has a code name. So that's usually, I just use my gamer brain, man. That's how you do it.
Basically, like, for more actor-related stuff, and not just games or anime.
How do you know how to act?
No, like, how would you find out about the audition? Like, how would you know?
You get it sent to you from your agent. So you're saying if you don't have an agent, how do you find out about it? You can, so I didn't have an agent for a while. I mean, that you can't get an agent unless you book work. And it's hard to book work without an agent. So you go to casting directors and stuff. And I took workshops for $20. You can do these workout groups where you show up, you work on copy with a casting director, and then you go home. And from one of those, I ended up booking something and then brought it to my agent. And it took a long time. That was tough. It's tough when you're first starting out. But you can do a lot of there's a lot of fan stuff out there that you can do, and especially on YouTube and mods, work on people who are creating mods. There's a mod that I was really impressed with, and I messaged the creators and said, I want to be a part of this mod really bad. It hasn't been announced yet, they're holding on to it, but I love it. So that's a thing that you can always put yourself out there, especially on the internet. It's a great tool. Behind the Voice Actors has a casting website as well. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can do to get yourself work. Cheers. Yeah. You do have a contract with an agent. It's usually...
You can't go with another agent or...
Yeah, and once you're signed with someone, you're there for a year, and then you usually sign for 3 years. So it's you're with them for a while, for sure. Let's go again.
So what were the funniest lines and scenes that you did when you voiced period prisoner and also Tengi from Mob Psycho 100?
From Tengi?
Tenga. I think it's Tenga, but like you voiced like the former school bully.
Yeah. His name is Onigawara. Yeah. Tengi Onigawara. Oh yeah. I guess that's interesting. I never thought about his first name. For Puri Prisoner, everything he says is funny. He's just the best. He just has to stand there and just be himself, and that's all it was. One of the more interesting lines from that one were the ones where he's sitting next to Saitama and just not attracted to him at all, even though he's attracted to everybody else. He just is not impressed. So it was funny to play him for a second, just be serious and give information, and it's not sexual at all. And I thought that was a lot of fun to see that side of Puri Prisoner. For Tengi, I don't remember too much. He wasn't too big of a character, so I don't remember too much about it. I'm trying to think of a thing. Oh, when his friends call him out for being dumb. Those are always really fun. Those are fun in the very beginning, yeah. Thanks.
No problem.
Let's do lightning one. You haven't got a question.
Sarah!
You're Sarah. Who's that on the end?
So Sarah's on the end.
Two Sarahs, two lightnings. Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing.
My question is, if you could voice anyone from Final Fantasy VIII, who would it be?
You know what would be really fun is Norg. The big fat thing that appears for like a scene and is never talked about again. I'd want to be Norg and give him a big crazy voice, something like this. That would be really, really fun. But to play an actual character, I'd love to be Safer. That'd be really cool. That he's so weird, and what a cool backstory, and his arc is great. He's in tatters at the end. I like that. That's a really cool guy. Squall's already cast. I forget who plays him, but he's in Dissidia, so can't do that. Can't take that from them. Let's do this. We have we have a minute left, yeah? Mike, we're good? Okay, okay, cool. Let's go on this side. Cindy.
Okay, this question's probably gonna be a little feely. So.
Feely? Oh.
Okay, so I just graduated. I'm a musical tutor as well.
Congratulations.
So I know how hard the business is. What did you tell yourselves when things weren't going so well? It's really hard at first. So what would you tell yourself besides the fact that you love what you're doing?
Yeah, I would trick myself into putting so that there was nothing I could fall back on. I was a bartender for a while. Yeah, and I was a bartender, I had enough money saved up for 2 months, and to be able to go live without work. And once I got to that point, I said, all right, I'm gonna quit my job, and in 2 months I have to book something out there. But that meant that I had 60 days in order to do nothing except find a job, and you have to. And when you make it so that you have to, suddenly you get a lot more crafty and creative in coming up with how to get jobs. And that's how I did the voice actor workshops. I found out about these workout groups, and that's how I booked my very first thing, and that was at the end of 2 months. So I finally did that. So that's at least one trick that I know. Doctors hate him. This one trick will make you become a voice actor. We'll do one weird trick. Do one more question.
What is your favorite character from 15 that isn't Noctis?
Oh man, there's a lot. I like Navith a lot because he's awesome. He's Patrick Seitz, and he comes up every once in a while. You're like, what are you doing here? And he gives you really hard quests. I like him a lot. And I really like Prompto. He's just great. And Robbie had such a hard job, you guys. You don't know. To match it to Japanese, most of Noctis's lines are like 3 to 5 seconds long, and being able to keep that internal timer in your head is fine. But for Robbie, he had these 19-second long things that he had to get within a millisecond. He had such a hard job. So whenever I hear a Prompto line that's particularly long, I go, dang, Robbie, that's awesome. So I love Prompto too. Thank you guys, that's my time. Cheers. I gotta talk to these guys.